Welcome to another edition of Living Simply and Fun. I'm your host, Rita, and this is Aaron. Tonight we'll be reviewing the Carino. Let me see if I can get a good view.
Which essentially means affection. Actually, it would mean affections because it's plural. Yeah, you got a good view there.
Yeah, and there's got more people
viewing. It's got this nifty woman basically holding her chest and looking to the side.
And I was like this, and I was bent over. They got a good view down here. So enjoy.
Okay, you had to point that out. Anyways, the Carino is $2.80 a single, $13.99 for a 5-pack, and $55.99 for a box of 20. Rather economical price. Now, what are you getting here? You are getting long fillers from Panama and Honduras with the...
Which one's yours? The more it's filled more?
No. With a Brazilian Sumatran seed-grown binder. So, essentially, it's a Sumatra binder grown in Brazil. And then you have a Nicaraguan Viso Oscuro wrapper. And they're very specific that it's a Viso wrapper.
I remember talking to Aaron about this when he placed the order. I was doing some research on the 5-pack, and I said, "Did you know this is an Oski?" He said, "No, I didn't. He just chose it randomly."
So, no, that was the 601s. I didn't know there was 2 Oscars. This I knew was an Oscar. And I chose this one because it was an Oscar. And was very affordable for a 5-pack.
Now, I know out there we don't know how this is going to go, but before we agree, I just want to say at the end of the cigar, so it doesn't fall off the edge, it was on teeter-tottering a bit. So, anyways, because of this being an Oscar, we will let you know at the end, including you, Johnny Stick, since I hear you love Oscars. So, you know, we'll let you know.
Anyway, scent test. Almost nothing off the wrapper whatsoever. And I'm getting very little off the foot. Maybe a little bit of hay. This is a very scentless cigar.
I was going to agree. I'm getting a light hint of floral and a light hint of hay. But I do want to say something
before
a
floral dry puff.
Would you like to go into details for a second about our palates and etc.?
Everybody's palate's different. That's something that we know. One thing that I try to do is I try to match the flavors that I'm picking up to the closest things I can find. And more than likely, I'm going to hit on something that you agree on. Somebody actually said that I'm more than likely lying because I'm saying, oh, well, I pick up this flavor and that flavor. Usually, I'm only picking up 4 to 5 flavors of cigar. I have picked up 8 to 9 or more, depending on how the cigar burns, the various flavor intricacies. Sometimes things like raisin and chocolate go hand in hand, so you end up picking up the chocolate, you end up picking up the raisin too. Some things, leather tends to go very well with the woods, and wood alone sometimes doesn't taste just like wood, but a combination of different woods, or a nut with the wood. I've very clearly picked up walnut before with. And have I ever said I am, one of the greatest in the world at this? No. In fact, I've actually very clearly made a statement that I try to do this from the viewpoint of a fairly new person to cigars. Yes, I'll pick up more flavors than somebody who is new to cigars. But somebody who's new to cigars, who's smoking one of these while watching the video, might very well pick up the same flavors that I'm mentioning, which would end up making their experience all the much better when they end up trying something never before, and now their palate's sitting there saying, hey, I taste this. Because a lot of flavors in cigars are just tobacco flavors. That little hint of espresso isn't espresso. It's not a flavoring that's in the cigar. What it is the tobacco has a representation or a feel. The flavor kind of is reminiscent of. So you want to get into it. A cigar is going to be essentially tobacco flavor.
What have I said many times over? Each person's palate's different. It's hit or miss. By the way, if you're talking about dry puff, and you didn't let me say, if you dry puff it again, you're going to taste as if you were sucking on a dry Cocoa Puff. That's the flavor I'm getting. It's not floor. It's a Cocoa Puff.
You might actually be closer to right on that. Just open up a box of Cocoa Puffs and then inhale through your mouth. Should be able to get it.
Exactly. See? Now, for somebody else...
I would never have caught that had I not been here with her. It's not something that I would have picked up, but she ends up saying it, and I'm like, yeah.
And the tip after...
That is why people watch reviews, because sometimes you miss something. Another reason that you watch reviews is because you want to know whether something is good. And if you agree with my flavor palette, like you've watched a bunch of my reviews, and let's say you've smoked 20 or 30 different cigars that I've already reviewed, and you've watched those, and you say, hey, those are what I thought of it too. Then you end up knowing that your palate is fairly similar to mine, and then when you go to get a cigar, you'll be like, hey, I remember this, such and such ended up saying this was good. His palate, I remember, is close to mine. I'm going to give this a try because it's fairly affordable today. It's the way things work. I'm no perfectionist. I'm not the best out there. And this is all because I ended up basically saying that there's this cigar reviewer who's considered one of the elite cigar reviewers who totally, in my opinion, butchered a review that, about another cigar. Just out the window. Sorry, my dog likes to watch out the window and see foot traffic, and he ends up barking sometimes at people going by. So, we just got to close the blinds on him. So, anyways, it had to basically do with the fact that I ended up saying that this guy ended up making a mistake, and I think that he kind of... Sorry, I kind of have a little issue with this guy in the first place. Not because of any... I'm not even going to get into it, because I don't want to speak bad about another person who's doing reviews. I just disagree with his review, and I think that he ended up giving Isabella, who we think is one of the best cigars we've ever smoked, both of us, we think this guy did no justice to it, and I have a good hunch why, and I don't want to get into it, because that gets into the grounds of, you know, slandering another person, and I don't really want to slander him. You know, my thoughts on him are my own personal.
I just want to say, for the record, before we kick the tires and light the fires, that anyone who does a negative comment that isn't nice in the same way, and just is completely vulgar or disrespectful, we will delete them.
I see absolutely no reason that a person ever needs to swear at another human being. Yeah, you could end up saying that you got to go take a crap. And in doing so, use the S word. I really don't care. However, when you want to say you got a really S-y personality, that's a problem to me, because you can end up saying that totally different. You could say, I don't like your personality. You don't have to use that word. You don't have to end up ripping another person a new arsehole, basically. Yes, I know. But anyways, what I'm trying to say is you don't have to rip a person a new one. You can find a way to do it in a much better manner, which is more sophisticated and takes more thought in your head, and you don't have to get angry about things. That's part of the fun of cigars to me, is that they're relaxing. This,
if you smell the wrapper and the tip and this side, you'll smell pure Cocoa Puffs on it. It's like a Cocoa Puff. But
anyways,
like
I want to
said,
get to that cigar.
Test is different. Well, he likes it.
To me, I'm already saying it's beating a dead horse, even though I only talked about it for 2 minutes about that, you know, negative comment.
Now, I just want to say to you all, talking about cigar reviews, because someone basically said, oh, I'm a crackerjack when it comes to cigar reviews with 8 or more flavors. I just want to say, palate's different, and each cigar is different. Aaron might pick up something different than I, but... For example, when you fire up a cigar you think might be Cocoa Puffy, it might change your entire opinion. You're thinking, oh, I'm smoking a Cocoa Puff bomb. Instead, it turns out you're smoking a cedar bomb. The dry puff is different than the burnings.
Also, just like right now, I take my first initial puff, and I kind of roll that smoke in my mouth. And I'm sitting there saying, what am I picking up? And I smack my lips a couple times, hoping I could draw out some of that flavor. And I draw a blank. And I'll tell you I draw a blank when that happens. I don't just make things up because I find it there, just to make it seem like I do a better review. No, I only tell you what I experience. So, about the only thing I'm getting right now is kind of a sour sweetness. Reminds me of those kind of jelly fruit type things with the sour powder on it.
I'm picking up cedar. Right now, just cedar.
Oh, and by the way, this is another offering from Nestor Plasencia. I don't think I said that before. He seems to be doing a lot of the famous only cigars like this one.
I know Nestor does make some cigars out of fence, by the way. It says in their catalog. But the reason I lit this for some of you is I'm trying to get the ends burnt properly so it burns, you know.
Well, also, it wasn't too long ago. It was either... might have been the Carnage, the Immortal, the Iron Horse. I don't remember. One of them was attributed to Rocky Patel originally and had become a Nestor Plasencia more recently. This was another one that's attributed to Rocky Patel that is blended now by Nestor Plasencia. So it seems Rocky used to do a lot of the blending for Famous, and now Nestor's doing it and took over those labels.
Well, yeah.
Probably a totally different blend now, depending on who you had roll it. Or blend it. Was it the original blend by Rocky, or is it the newer blend by Nestor? Another question, too, is Nestor is considered the blender of this right now by Famous, but there's a bit of evidence out there that Rocky Patel used to blend this. If Nestor continues using the same blend that Rocky had, does that mean this is still technically a Rocky blended cigar, even though it's currently rolled in Nestor's factories? Good questions. And how much has it changed? Again, I don't have an older one to compare to, and the age wouldn't allow for a good comparison anyways. This is new, that's old. Aging kind of changes a cigar, so.
How's the draw for you?
Decent. You can't complain. You're having problems?
Yeah.
Probably got a knot in there. Hey, careful what you're doing. Looks like you're pushing too hard. You just want to do that lightly. I'll fix it for you in a moment if you got a problem still.
Anyways, I gotta figure out what to see about.
I'm kind of getting
down. Just curious, is it down that I hold this because of the?
You want to hold the when you have a run going. You want to hold it so that the run is up, like that. That's if you don't know this. Although heat rises, when you rest the cigar in the ashtray, if you have a run, and it's, say, down here, and you're hoping like heck it'll fix itself even though you got all this there, and I'm going an extreme exaggeration, you put the run aimed up. Now, although you think the heat rises, it actually ends up heating the bottom more when it's down, so it'll end up burning the lower part more. Just something I learned. I don't know why that does that. It has something to do with heat transfer or something like that. But it works. Anyways, kind of getting just some cocoa and some chocolate.
Cocoa and chocolate are the same thing.
Yes, a cocoa-y chocolate.
And I'm getting cedar taste. And maybe a light cocoa, but not much.
That kind of cocoa sweetness. It's not, yeah, it's more dry powdered cocoa than chocolate. But when I say chocolate, I mean sweeter too. And there is that sweetness. So cocoa to me is more like dry baker's chocolate, bitterish on the one side.
I can only
and then
say
chocolate is more. So when I say cocoa and chocolate, usually I'm referring to a more bitter chocolate with cocoa with a sweeter chocolate is chocolate.
I'm going to say this tastes more like a dry cocoa puff than, anything. Or maybe a little bit of a cookies and cream candy bar, because I can taste a little cream in it, but that's about it.
It has some toasty notes. I wasn't going to say creamy, but toasty. Well, anyways, I suppose we should get into the halfway point of this and get back to you when we get there so that we don't take up all your precious time in this world because, hey, we're not that important. Hello, and welcome back to the halfway point of this Carinos. Yes, I know you're out. Drink your water.
No.
Anyways, I can't say that this has been super fantastic. It hasn't been bad, though. Flavors are so-so. Some of that cocoa still remains. More on the toasty side with maybe a touch of hay in there. But it's not altogether super special. For Rita, I know she's been having draw issues, and I can't say that it's been wonky or anything. It's been okay, but it hasn't been great. Just a ho-hum stick.
Something you wouldn't write home to Mom about.
No, but it'd be something that I'd think about purchasing if I had the money and it was cheap enough and I was just looking for something to fill my Humi. But, $55 a box, you can't complain about that. So I would say for the price so far, it's been every penny of it. But $2.80 a stick, I know some other cigars that are a little cheaper. Rita, what do you think so far? Other than your leaf that fell off and stuck to your finger, and you're just having one problem after another with yours.
I think that, in my opinion, I made a joke with Aaron that since I have to meet up with my cousin, I might as well just gift him a few cigars, and these could be it. And Aaron's just like, oh, no, just gift him.
I wouldn't gift all three to him, especially because you want to get rid of them. I mean, he is your cousin. I wouldn't mind giving him one so he could give it a try in case he likes it, $55 a stick, but, if you don't like it so much, it's kind of like that royal yuck. I wouldn't necessarily give a bunch of those to somebody because if they find them horrid too, it's kind of like saying, I don't like you enough to give you anything decent. Here, have some garbage. You don't want to do that to your cousin. Maybe give him one. But, you're already giving him an OSA and you're already giving him an RYJ. You might as well only give him one of these and give him one of your Placeras, which was actually really nice. But you're having so much trouble with that over there, I keep thinking you're just going to let yours go out any minute because you're sitting there like, and you're like picking at it. And she was saying her draw's bad, and I go to test her draw. Yeah. I'll smoke after somebody else, depending on who they are and if I know them well enough. But, yeah, trying to fix her draw, I couldn't get any draw problems on hers. Her draw was the same as mine, and I'm having no issue.
I mean, yes, there's a couple fixes, but otherwise it's been burning on a razor. As Aaron said, the cone's a little thicker, but that's what you get. But, in my opinion...
Well, besides the fact you just keep playing with the... It's not Play-Doh back there, So, anyways, we'll see you in the final third of this, let you know how this progresses. But so far, it's fairly ho-hum, but it's not horrible. Unless you're getting it from Rita, then it's horrible.
Stay tuned.
Mm-hmm.
Moved it. Welcome back to the final third of this
Carinos. Carinos. Carino. Yeah. So, there's a reason I don't speak Spanish. For one, I'm not Spanish. But 2, I can't trill my R's or roll them, whatever. And, well, I'm just not very good at speaking Spanish.
Before we get into this final review part, I just want to say that if anyone thinks I am going to be racist, I'm not. I just think Hispanic and Latinos are funny as they speak faster and faster and faster, when a lot of us in English speak slow and clear, you know.
You know, that makes me think of something.
Yeah. And yes, I conned him out of his last beer.
So, whenever you go to fill out an application for anything, whether it be hospital, you know, filling out paperwork for a hospital or an application for a credit card, it'll ask you what your race is. And then it'll ask you your ethnicity. Now, ethnicity, you can always answer Caucasian, African American, Latino, you know, Oriental, Asian, you know, your typical choice is Native American. But when it comes to ethnicity, you either have, or to race, you either have Latino or non-Latino. Well, I'm sorry, isn't the answer answered beforehand? You're either, you know, it just doesn't make sense to me. I suppose it's because there's some African Americans who are also Latino. Barbados has a lot of African Americans, basically, who are not from Africa. They're from South America. So, I don't know. It's confusing, and it's just a weird thing, and I've been wondering about that, why that there's no other options in that. It's Latino or non-Latino. Anyways, on to the cigar.
Yes.
Because that's what we're about. We're about the cigar, not that stupid question. Honestly, that doesn't even matter. It's just one of those things that have boggled me a little. But
what boggles me, talking about this for a second, is
yeah, I moved the camera a bit. I had to answer a reply, and I moved the whole thing to type, and then I moved it back, and I was off.
Anyways, what boggles me the most about this whole ordeal is talking about the ethnicity thing, and this is something that just irritates me, and it's a quick irritant, is when you're on the phone and they say press 1 for Spanish, 2 for English, it's like, what the hell what's going on here?
Yeah. Especially in Washington, you call the state welfare office in Olympia, it's press 1 for Spanish or stay on the line, press 2 for anything else. And that actually bothers me because, I don't know, this is America, you know.
I bet you that one guy that's troll's going to attack us for it.
Probably, because it shouldn't matter, and it doesn't matter to me. It really doesn't. It's just a stupid question. And that's all it is a stupid question. Why is there that one category for Latino, non-Latino, and then the other question for your ethnicity? And it isn't the question answered in the ethnicity part, so why does it have to be asked a second time?
Maybe. Well, shall we?
So, anyways, this has maintained flavors pretty well. A lot of cocoa notes, primarily. A little bit of cedar coming in here in the final bit. Woodsy notes and some earthy tones in the final end. Okay. Oh, we'll get to that. But for me, this is burn on a razor. Been an absolutely perfect, sharp smoke. No draw issues, no wonkiness, no wrapper issues. Just absolutely perfect cigar. With so-so flavors that I've tasted this pretty much in so many cigars that this is fairly narrow in the pathway. I say that I taste cocoa and cedar and nuts and blah, but the thing is, although I'm picking those things up, a lot of those are complementary flavors to each other, and they're going to appear with the other ones anyways. It's just the way this tobacco is. But it's very ho-hum. And, well, now Rita can show you her cigar.
The outer wrapper, basically, there's not much left of it.
And it's burning all crazy wonky. You have a huge hangnail on this side. Your back end split wide open. The wrapper's almost entirely peeled off. You've had draw issues from the beginning, which I said I didn't think was a draw issue. And then there was a point where you started picking at the back end, and I think that's what started to cause it to open up. And then when you ended up destroying the cap back here, it just started to
Well, I'm going to do for you all a single review, a solo review of the last version of this, because one of them goes to my cousin.
She traded me one for my beer, so that gives her one more left.
Yes, and I will do a solo
out of her
review.
5-pack.
And
So she's going to try it one more time to see if it was just this stick. And I think this one was fully user error, to be honest.
my uncle would say we're pleading the Fifth Amendment there. I'm not incriminating myself. So there you have it.
Which is another conundrum I've always thought of. When a person pleads the fifth degree to not incriminate themselves, to me that's by default incriminating yourself, because if you had nothing to hide, you'd have nothing to hide. The moment that you say Fifth Amendment shows that you have something to hide, and you're not going to incriminate yourself on that.
I do have something to hide.
I would immediately say that if you ended up pleading the Fifth Amendment, you're guilty of something.
Well, look at those guys over at Enron, the Enron scandal. They basically all pleaded the Fifth. What was that, in the 2000 or something?
Yeah, I know. I think the main flavor I picked up in this is a toasty flavor. Toasty cocoa. I'm getting more of that toast flavor here, and it's reminding me I've had it off and on throughout the whole smoke.
I have to agree with my colleague. It is a toasty cocoa flavor, and like taking and toasting Cocoa Puffs without Cocoa Puffs actually falling apart, like
actually
burning.
I would put it more this way. It's like taking a slice of toast out of the oven, having a cigar in one mouth, taking a bite out of your toast, and then inhaling from a box of Cocoa Puffs. So you get the tobacco flavor, you get the toast flavor, and then you get the smell or breathe-in flavor from the Cocoa Puffs. And I don't know. That's kind of the way I'd put it, I think.
I'd agree with my colleague there, because, on it, because that's the way I see it, and yes, I got a hangnail, but this thing is wonky because, well, the binder is what's holding the cigar together right now.
Anyways,
however, I'll tell you, out of all of them, my first log, the 7x70, was the same way. I had to poke this like this and keep smoking. And I spent the next 30 minutes doing it. I got like almost 4 hours out of it. However, my favorite 4-hour cigar is still the Brick House. I don't know how that 6x60 Maduro lasted 4 hours.
It's because it's J.C. Newman. Anyways, I'm going to do something a little different. Would I recommend this? No. Now, here's the reason I won't recommend it. I mean, the Carinos is a decent cigar. You want to try it, please, by all means, go ahead. However, in the same price range, you have the Carnage, which is also made by Nestor Plasencia. Far better cigar.
Have you tried it yet?
Yes, we both reviewed it. Remember when we did the Asylum Straitjacket and stuff, and the Chingon from Room 101? We also tried the Immortal, which was a Nestor Plasencia. We loved it. Great cigar. Far more flavor, roughly the same price range. Shoot, I can't remember any of the others right now, but we've tried quite a few Nestor Plasencia cigars, and almost every one has been much better than this one. This is maybe one of the weaker Nestor Plasencias I've smoked. So if you're going to go for a Plasencia cigar, there are other ones out there that I would say is much better. And the Immortal and Carnage are the two that pop into my head right off the top.
I would like to make a statement, or are you done statements?
Go ahead.
I would like to agree with Aaron on this. Not because of the price point, but for me, I'm going to do one solo review for you all. Not for you guys to think, oh, they're doing solos to increase their video number, but to see if it is operator error. So,
yeah, well,
hold on. Do I recommend it? No. and you want to buy for $56, cut yourself a little slack, buy yourself a Placer, get yourself a Placer in a little tin.
$45, $10 cheaper, same size, both were 6x60. That actually had a better flavor profile and was very Cuban-esque. But different blender. I was going off same blender.
I wasn't going to say that. I was going to say something else. Now, the thing there for $55, let me ask you one question. Since you remember, is it 20 that you get per box?
Yes, you get 20.
This, you get 25. It says right there, 25.
25 cigars, $10 less. You get 5 extra cigars. It's almost like getting a 15-pack free. Only because the $10 and the extra 5. That's $15, which will buy you a 5-pack of certain blends, including the Placera and including the Carinos, which was $13 for a 5-pack. It was actually $13.99. And I thought it was, for a 5-pack, that was really affordable, and it's not a bad cigar. So I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying, if you want to try a Plasencia, this is actually one of the weaker ones, and I really want to try the Plasencia Organic, because it's the only organic cigar on the market, and I'm curious what it tastes like.
For my final thing is try the Placers. Me and Aaron were talking about trying the Placers Reservas, which comes in a box instead of a little tin. The tin's cool. I told Aaron maybe I'll get, maybe 1 month I'll just buy all Placers and do from Robustos to Gordos, 6x60s, or, and just fill my humidors up with these affordable sticks,
And I'll tell you this, too. During this cigar, I've been smoking the Leininkugel's Watermelon Shandy, and the Watermelon Shandy actually goes fairly well with this. It kind of reminds me of that toasty cereal again, like a breakfast.
However, the reason for it is it's a Weiss beer, which means it is made with wheat. It's a wheat beer.
And the other thing I'll say about this, too, is it's a medium-bodied cigar. It doesn't get very heavy. It's not nicotine-rich. And the flavor profile is medium also. So I've had very complex and very heavy flavored cigars. And when I talk flavor, I'm not talking sweetened. I'm not talking sugars. I'm not talking, lavenders and chocolates and all that. I'm just talking the flavor profile itself. And this is a fairly medium-bodied or medium-flavored cigar with a medium body and a medium nicotine.
I agree with you completely. I mean, it is a medium-bodied cigar, medium strength, and medium nicotine. I mean, you'd have to smoke 2 or 3 of these to get a buzz, I would think, compared to, say, some of the others that we've had that were full nicotine-rich. Now, as you all know, as a pipe smoker, I base the nicotine level from the Dunhill Nightcap, which is just a nicotine bomb. However, I don't understand how they say the Dunhill Nightcap, and I'm not going to get into this intricacy, but how it's a full nicotine-enriched cigar, and instead you get more nicotine in 1 bowl of pipe tobacco than you get in a whole cigar. And that, too much nicotine, I figured, would be up like drinking a whole pot of coffee.
Now, I'll tell you why she's had problems with hers in this. It has a tight draw. There's no doubt about that. This is not a very smoky cigar. It doesn't put billows in the air. So you got the slightly tight draw, which although you're getting some, you blow out, and there's not a lot of smoke. So you feel like you're not getting much, even though there's a lot of flavor there, and the cigar's burning fine, which causes overpuffing. You got into the overpuffing, and then it started to go wonky on you. As it started to go wonky on you, you're sitting there drawing harder and harder, which is kind of like the drooler. You started getting the back end too wet. And then it started to get even tighter draw. And as you're sitting there trying to poke it, leaves started coming out, so you started picking the leaves at the back, which ended up destroying the cap, basically. And as the cap started to deteriorate, you got your wrapper that started to come loose. And that's why you had so many problems with it.
Well,
and I would have had the same problems, except for I realized real quick that this just wasn't a very smoky cigar. It didn't have a lot of smoke output, and it had a tight draw.
You want a lot of smoke output. Before I go, I'll tell you the Romeo and Juliet Capulet is a good cigar. I'm going to do a solo on that.
I'm going to actually be involved in that because I'd like to review it again for this sake. We got the 75th anniversary, and I got some things to say about it. Now, you'll have to wait for that video, so don't even bother.
No, spill the beans? All right.
No need to spill the beans. But we have a reason to do that one again, and that's because we got the 75th anniversary version. So, anyway, stay tuned for that video, which might be a week or so from now, because we want to do another 601 in between, and we got some low auroras to do. So we're probably going to get to one of the low auroras, or the 601, or the J Fuego we have. And, you know, so we've got some other things to try to space things out. I don't want to do all three of her reviews right away. So we'll try to get to that other Romeo later. And so, with that said, please add and subscribe. Leave questions, comments, feedback, or suggestions. And if you smoke this and you agree or disagree with us, go ahead and give us your thoughts. Just try to keep it nice is all we ask. Even if you disagree with us, even if you hate us, there are ways to do it without having to use vulgarity. So, anyways,
with that said,
please enjoy every puff.